And well. Welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watch2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So I just got finished watching the bonus episode of One Jets Drive. It's about a 22-minute watch, and this is the episode where the Jets interview and hire and introduce Darren Mougey as their general manager and aaronglenn as their head coach. So the episode starts with aaronglenn arriving in Florham Park for interview number 2. And at this point, it was really dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Glenn knew he wanted the job. I think the Jets knew they wanted aaronglenn as their head coach as well. And the narrator comes on and says, one of their typical profound statements, sometimes to go forward, you have to go back. And, of course, right away, the video cues to the Jets trading up in the 1994 to draft aaronglenn out of Texas A&M. Shows a couple of highlights, his interceptions, which he had quite a few of as a Jet. 3 pick sixes, as a matter of fact. And then they talk briefly about Darren Mougey and his rise in the Denver Broncos system. And it shows some clips of aaronglenn coaching. Talks about him as a leader, an evaluator of talent. That was what really was emphasized about aaronglenn, was his leadership. It cuts to some clips of him coaching the Lions, and in certain spots, he's very encouraging. He's building players up, but when he's in that team meeting room, he's not afraid to call players out. Basically saying, if you're not going to practice how we want, get the F out of the building right now. So there is a very firm line there, because leadership, you got to know when to encourage and when to build up, and you have to know when you got to give them a good kick in the butt sometimes too. I think aaronglenn knows when to do that. So then they play the intro credits. Then we go back in time to November 28, 2024, when the Jets hired the 33rd team to assist them with their search for general manager and coach. The exciting orchestra music comes in. And there's clips of the Jets interviewing GMs, interviewing coach candidates. There's some media clips there. Then the Jets basically make their decision, and then the video gets serious. The dramatic music stops. The screen fades to black, and it cuts into a dark room with just 2 neon green lights behind. And Darren Mougey is there, sitting down. Then it cuts over to aaronglenn on a separate camera shot, the same dark room with the 2 green lights in the background. Stuff got serious right at that moment. But Mougey talked about how he felt the commitment of the Johnson brothers and the commitment from aaronglenn. Look, when it comes to the Johnsons, I want to make this clear. I've never wondered about them wanting to win. I've never doubted that. I have doubted how they go about it. And I've never questioned their willingness to spend money either. Okay, I know a lot of Jet fans have a lot of issues with the Johnsons, and understandably so, but criticize them where they need to be criticized. I will never question their desire, ever. So then with aaronglenn, what he said was, get the right people on board, create the connection with your people, you'll see winning. Well, we will see. And then it cuts over to Mougey again, basically 24 hours after he got the job. Basically, this interview is being done. And you could still see, this was one of the first big takeaways, I still think he has a little bit of that deer in the headlights look, where he's still trying to take it all in. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing, and right now he's giving the very sort of canned, paint by numbers answers. I don't blame him for that. Hopefully in time, as he succeeds in his job, we can only pray and hope he will get more comfortable letting a little bit more personality out. But right now, I think he's just sort of taking everything in that this job means. But Mougey, he's talking about the people he's worked with over the time. And then Glenn, they cut over to Glenn, and he talks about when Mougey interviewed him for a coaching job in Denver a couple of years ago. They connected well then. And then Mougey talks about Glenn's ability to motivate players. And again, leadership. And this is what the Jets have needed so badly. It wasn't an offensive-minded coach just because the last several defensive-minded coaches failed to different levels. Okay, it wasn't about that. It's about taking a talented roster and taking them to the next level, because that's what the Jets have right now. And then you go to the introductory press conference back on January 27th. They show a couple of former Jets players showing up. Damian Woody's there. Wayne Corbett is there. Rob Carpenter shows up. If you look closely, he's got a badge on, a lanyard with the badge. At the top of the badge, it says legend. All due respect to Rob Carpenter. I don't think he's going to be inducted into the Jets Ring of Honor anytime. We're using the word legend a little bit loosely. God bless Rob Carpenter. But as the media and the families of Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey are walking into the room, it cuts into words from Lions head coach and Glenn's former boss, Dan Campbell. He talks about how Glenn, nobody works harder. He's got it as a leader. And then you watch a clip of Glenn. This is after the presser. He's sitting in the dark room. He's holding a tablet, and he's watching himself get drafted. This is pretty cool because it gives him a chance to reflect on how he's changed over those 31 years since he was drafted. He mentions his parents' excitement in the moment. It was pretty cool to watch. You could definitely see he appreciates how this whole situation has kind of come full circle, from being a player with the Jets to being a scout for 2 years and now being the head coach. So now back to the press conference. Darren Mougey comes up, and he was strong enough to say the word Super Bowl. That was about the boldest thing that he did in the presser or in the subsequent interviews, I would say. Because a lot of people are going to say, we look forward to building a winning franchise. We're going to evaluate. You're going to be proud of us. He was not afraid to say what the goal is, and that's to win a Super Bowl. Not just a winning season, not just contention, not getting back to the playoffs, but set your expectations high. If you don't set your expectations high, you're never going to get there. And then Aaron Glenn steps up to the mic in the press conference. We know what he said. You know, the quotes have been talked about for a while now. But this was interesting. They worked in clips from the 1998 playoffs. They worked in clips from the Bill Parcells presser when he got hired. The idea was kind of showing the influence of Bill Parcells on Aaron Glenn, as Parcells has really endorsed the idea of Aaron Glenn being a head coach. Talked about the vision, the goals, and I think they were trying to sell you that Aaron Glenn will help the Jets turn the franchise around the way Parcells did. Of course, the difference being Parcells had an amazing resume as a head coach when he came to the Jets. Glenn doesn't have that. But let's see what he could do. It's going to be very interesting. And then it cuts back to Glenn in the dark room. They played the rest of his press conference with the media. We know how that went. It was an awesome press conference. But Glenn made sure to mention, as the video was winding down, he will be himself. He talked about being authentic. And I think with the New York Jets, we have seen too many head coaches who did not do that. Eric Bieniemy came from the Patriots. He tried to be Belichick Part 2. It failed miserably. I'm sorry, it failed. Robert Saleh became a completely different guy than he was on the sideline of the San Francisco 49ers. I think even Todd Bowles became very, very buttoned up because players, they could see through BS. They could see when you're being yourself and when you're putting on basically a show, because that's what you think you're supposed to do. So I am encouraged that Glenn is really focused on being himself, because if you're not, a false version of you, it'll eventually show through anyway. And so then the video finishes with the photo ops and a close-up of Mougey and Glenn holding those two Jets helmets, and that's basically the whole episode. Well, I'll tell you what. The Jets have a lot of big decisions to make over the next couple of months in terms of who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go of, who they're going to sign in free agency, if they may make any trades, and who they're going to draft. But once all that gets done, I'm sure that the flight series will be back. I certainly hope it'll be back, because it's going to be a fascinating watch to see what these two men and the new coaching staff as well, the Tanner Engstrands, the Steve Wilkes, Rick Spielman, who's been hired now as an advisor, Rob Patton in the front office. I look forward to seeing the clips of these guys and getting to know them better and what makes them different. What's going to make them special? We've seen some good football people here over the years, but what makes all of these people qualified to come to maybe the most cursed or woe-begotten franchise in the NFL? What are they going to do to turn it around? I think we're going to get our answers over the next few months, and I hope that's an emphasis of the flight series and the One Jets Drive series over the next couple months. Well, if you've got some thoughts on the series, put them down there in the comments. I'm curious to see what you have to say. Everybody, please support the channel. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. Please like, share with a friend, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.